You know if you get a notification saying you're recording.
Yeah, it says Anthony's recording the call.
All right, we're here, my friend. So as far as I know, we're good to go.
Dope. Back in the dojo.
Hell yeah, Andrew. First, let me say thanks for coming on, bro.
Hey, for sure, man. Appreciate the opportunity. Stoked to chat it up, talk some skate.
Yeah, I actually was starting this one off by watching the early days Lost part that you put up on YouTube not that long ago, man. What's all this footage from? Like, what's the timeline with all this?
So I think it's like a 4-year period from 2003, like right before I graduated high school, until about 2006, almost 2007. Maybe there might be a clip or two in there. And it was supposed to be two separate parts that I was filming. One for my shop sponsor, shout out Pharmacy Board Shop.
Oh yeah,
And
hell yeah! I know we talked about that before. They were like one of the first supporters of your skating.
yeah, they're actually a huge part of the skate life story for me, for sure. My little journey from where I'm from, Indiana, out here to the West Coast when I was a youngster, and then kind of been back and forth, bouncing around a bunch.
How old
But
were you? I know you mentioned this before, but how old were you when you first got your board?
First actual skateboard, probably 11. But
Damn.
skateboarding kind of has been like a part of my life somehow, almost my whole life. I kind of like to romanticize the idea, I guess, a little bit, maybe because it's my favorite pastime. But I kind of think skateboarding found me in a way.
Yeah, I think just from meeting you like throughout the years and keeping in touch and talking and stuff, I could tell you're someone that's like I feel weird with how much I give credit to skateboarding and like skateboarding, and you remind me of myself.
Well, I
Which
think
is
that's
good.
kind of why we relate so much. We kind of got maybe like some similar background history with like family issues and moving around a bunch, and skateboarding kind of being the thing that really kept you level headed and focused. And I don't know, maybe got you in a little bit of trouble, but for the most part, probably kept you out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the trouble that it did get me into was like,
Good life lessons.
yeah, like you needed something to get you out of just like not living life. So skateboarding got you into a little bit of trouble, and you worked your way out. You know?
It's kind of like dipping your toes in the water and seeing how cold it is and how many sharks are in there.
Yeah,
In a
exactly.
sense,
Um,
metaphorically.
so what do your parents do? Like coming up, what was your household like?
So like I had a pretty normal childhood growing up, and then it was probably towards like my teenage years where shit got weird. My parents, they kind of never really were together. They split up when I was like 1 years old, but it's because they were just too young when they had me. Some real little kids, basically having kids. Mom's was 15, dad was almost 18. So I kind of tell everybody that I was raised by a tribe in the sense that like I spent more time probably with my aunts and my uncles and my grandparents than I did probably with my own parents as I was a kid growing up for the most part. And then like my parents' friends would babysit me because either they had kids that I was friends with or just for circumstantial reasons. And
So
then
is this why you're bouncing around because your parents split up and you're just going back and forth?
yeah, I was going back and forth. Like dad kind of always held the job down, but maybe mom struggled a little bit more, so she bounced around a lot. Um, and when she split up with my father, she met another guy that is the father of my little brother and my little sister.
Nice.
So I kind of always grew up with like step parents too for like chunks of my life, depending on like my parents' situation with whoever they were with. So it was like,
Sometimes that can be good and bad, you know?
yeah,
Especially if
part of it was good because it kind of added like a little bit more of a family vibe in certain chapters of life. And then other times it was like I could probably deal without all this extra stuff that maybe like the situation or the circumstance brings to you. I don't want to sound too negative about it because it is my history and my story, but I don't know. Maybe some things could have played out a little different.
no, yeah. I mean, such is life, you know? Like no
Yeah,
life
yeah.
is perfect, no
The
upbringing is perfect. So it's just like the way you internalize your upbringing, and if you turn it into a positive is how it works, you know? And it's never anyone's fault. Like, there's no handbook to life, you know?
Nah, I definitely am not bummed. I mean, I was actually really stoked compared to a bunch of the kids that I grew up with friends, because my parents were so young that it was easier to be relatable on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And maybe they were probably a lot more lenient on me about certain aspects of me growing up and like learning responsibility or like accountability, that kind of thing. Maybe they would not be so judgmental or harsh in the process of learning, just because, I don't know, they're still learning too.
Yeah, like they're still young and they're going through it, so they're not such dinosaurs that they forgot that they were 10 at one point or whatever.
Yeah, I like that term, dinosaurs. That's one of my favorites to refer to, like the elderly crowd.
Yeah, people forget, they get prehistoric. They've been here for so long, they forget. Like, they found what works and they hang on to it for dear life, and then they just turn
They
into
don't
dinosaurs.
realize they don't realize maybe the rest of everything else is evolving and they're stuck in the Jurassic age.
Yeah. For sure. There's people out there, man.
It's cool though. We'll be dinosaurs one day.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, true. Cross your fingers.
I'm not going to hang on,
cool.
though. I'm just going to let it all go towards the end.
Yeah.
I feel like we spend our lives like trying to figure out what we believe and working on things and trying to figure out ways to monetize our lives so we can enjoy it. And then, like, as you get older, like, if you actually figure that out, those things help you carry you through. But then at the end, you're leaving, and if you're say you get to be 70 or 80, it's like you're leaving. So those things, all your beliefs and ideas that help form you and carry you through, you're leaving. So you got to kind of let them all go and just go, you know? Like, people hang on to them to the bitter end, like, because it
I've
keeps
heard
them
you talk
grounded.
about that before a little bit, where it's like every once in a while you kind of got to face yourself in the mirror and reevaluate your pre-assumptions about reality and alter them more to your newfound perspective,
Yeah.
because being so set in your ways one way or the other is really gonna basically create your own rut for you and hold you back if you
Yeah.
can't figure out how to have more than just one perspective about multiple things.
Yeah. It's rented time, too, kind of what I was getting at, too, is it's just like, it's your time for now. It's your time for now, but at the end, you gotta let it all go. Like, all these beliefs and ideas, like, you gotta let them go. Maybe because I think that because I don't have kids. But if I had kids, maybe you'd want to pass your ideas and beliefs on to them, and then they would like maybe update them and move them forward into space and time. You know?
Yeah, I definitely think I'd have a different frame of perspective if I had some little ones to look after, but it's definitely a different school of thought probably when you step into that realm. I see how it's changed a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
It's a trip.
It's so conflicting for me because like I love all my friends and I love their kids, but they never skate anymore.
See, that's my whole hang up. That's kind of, I've decided to take the path through life and make the decisions I have just so I can have more freedom. Like, I don't see myself having kids in the future. I don't think that that's something that I look forward to doing or even really want to volunteer to do. Probably has a lot to do with the history of how I grew up, though. I think a lot of how a person becomes as they age has a lot to do with how they start.
Yeah.
The little bit of adversity or lack of adversity they go through, why they change growing up. I think that has a lot to do with your trajectory, wherever you're going to take yourself.
So moving into skateboarding, where was the spark? What initially got you into it? What drew you to it? And what kept you going with it?
See, that's what I was saying about the whole romanticizing it. I think it's kind of found me because it always was around, as far as like all of my favorite stuff that I can remember, from like cartoons to TV shows to like just paying attention to the random kid you see driving down the street while you're riding in the car with one of your parents. One of my first memories though is, I brought this up to you last time. Jeff Phillips' Skate TV was a television show on MTV when they actually used to play like music videos.
Hell yeah.
And like weird, obscure underground cartoons and stuff. And one of my first memories of skateboarding is actually associated with one of my first memories of pain. So I used to get babysat because my mom probably hustling multiple jobs at the time. So I'd go spend a lot of time at this lady's house, and she had a bunch of other little kids. But they were older than me, so I tend to just like spend more time watching cartoons probably. And I remember like being a little kid. You remember how you had to sit super close to the TV for some reason? Like you just had to be in there as close as you could to like absorb it.
The hype
So
was the hype was so real. You just wanted to keep getting in, like closer.
yeah, like almost like you just had to be a part of it in one way or another. But
I did.
I was sitting super close, and I remember like trying to get comfortable, and I'm leaning back, and I stick my hands on the carpet, and coincidentally, as I lean back, a bee flies and lands right where I'm gonna put my hand, and I stuck my hand on the bee, and the bee stung me, and I'd never like registered in my brain like what pain was from what I remember at that point, and I just think it's weird and synonymous that like my first memory of pain and one of my first memories of skateboarding are like they coincide. Because to me, I don't know, at times skateboarding is a pretty masochistic thing if you pursue it long enough. Because I don't know, most people tend to give up because it hurts or it's hard.
It definitely can. Yeah, and I totally agree, man. I teach skateboard lessons a lot, and a lot of those kids get into it and they're having fun, learn to balance, and then they take that one slam, which
That
we
one
all know.
slam or that one like really epic shinner or like that one crazy hipper that turns your hip purple or something,
And there's just like
people
a
tap
point.
out.
Yeah, there's just a point where they have to make a decision, and that because they realize exactly what you're saying is that there's a level of pain that you almost have to accept because you're assessing risks so much and pushing it. Even when you're just riding a board, once it gets to tricks, it's like anything could happen. You could roll your ankle on something basic, so like there's definitely a certain level where some kids just bow out because they're like, yo, I don't want to feel that again.
They can't handle the level of torture maybe that it might take them personally to achieve a certain level they thought they were going to meet or whatever. Because I think everybody comes into it thinking certain expectations because they see others progress at a certain rate. Maybe I saw that a lot in multiple different groups of friends that I had. People just tap out quick because their expectations were pretty high.
Yeah. There's the opposite too, is like people get into it. Like first person comes to mind is Ragdoll, where they just want to body themselves. They're punishing themselves because they
That's
enjoy
a good reference. Nobody jumps down that kind of stuff and has that approach in slip-ons, especially at that time. Pure torture. It's like, let's hop down mountains in cardboard shoes.
I didn't even think that I knew he had slip-ons, but it never registered to me like how much more brutal he was.
That was one of the things that always stood out to me about his skating is the slip-ons and then just the bag of tricks. The trick selection was unorthodox, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely a legend. I don't mean to. I'm not clowning by any means.
Oh, no. I get you for sure. I've actually met that dude once. He's really fucking cool.
He seems like he would be. Seems like you could have a beer with him and hang out,
Yeah, for sure. He'd for sure be a dude to have a beer with.
Okay, to shift back to skating, like, you started at 11. When did you feel like you were able to, like, get control? Because I know there's a point in skating, at least for me, there was a point where, like, I was learning so much in the very beginning, trying to figure it out. There was so much. And then I started seeing things come together. And then I remember there was a point where I've learned enough and my confidence in certain things aligned that I felt like I could start progressing and pushing it and maybe doing stuff that wasn't being done or do stuff that was being done but gnarly or longer or something different. Like, what age did you have an experience like that? And if so, what age?
I think probably like the first year to a year and a half, maybe even up into 2 years. I really didn't have any friends or anybody I rode skateboards with, and I think it had to do with my living dynamic with bouncing back and forth from my mom's to my dad's. Being a kid growing up, I never had like a set of friends. I just had friends that either lived in the neighborhood where one of my parents stayed, or I had like one or two best friends growing up that I always kept in contact with. But those dudes didn't even skate. I tried to get them into it, but it goes back to the conversation we had before that it's short-lived for most people. They think it's really cool and it's a dope lifestyle and the clothing and the shoes and all that, but the rest of it that goes with it, it's like work for people, I believe.
Yeah, for some people, for sure, they get in and they're like, yeah, it's not the fruit's not worth it, like.
Yeah, the juice ain't worth the squeeze, homie.
Yeah, that's what I meant. You got it.
For sure. But like as far as goes like progression,
like your personal progression with tricks, because I know in the beginning you're just learning them. And do you remember what age where you felt like you had control over it, like where you could push it?
I remember it took me 2 years to learn how to do a flat ground kickflip. I used to just take like 3 pushes and smash because I thought if you went a little faster, it'd make it easier. And I just do these crazy bicycle rocket kick, mob ass kickflip things and try to huck and land on them. And I remember getting super broke and having a really bad hipper for like a couple months trying to do it like that because I didn't have any reference or any examples. I hadn't found any skate videos yet either. I just had like somehow I figured out what a kickflip was. You know, it's you hear people say drive down the road, skate or die, do a kickflip, like that kind of corny thing. Like growing up in the Midwest, I heard a lot of corny stuff skating down the street.
No, yeah, we get it. Tony Hawk, X Games, fucking
Yeah,
kickflip.
that was what the kids loved to call me in school, Tony Hawk.
That's crazy. Yeah, I forgot. I always associate you with California, but I forget that you're from. Is it Midwest?
Yeah, Midwest, Indiana. I was born in a little town called Elkhart. It's about a half hour away from South Bend, which is the home of Notre Dame.
Nice.
So I don't know. It's kind of like I'm from Michigan, but not. I grew up like 5 or 10 minutes away from the border. So parts of it's got skate spots and like city and stuff. And then other parts of it, it's like super rural and there's basically just cornfields everywhere. So technically I'm just a skate rat from the cornfields. But I did have the advantage to move out here in probably like the most developmental years of my skateboarding.
What age?
I got to link up with like a group of really unique kids that I think are a huge reason why I ever went so far down the rabbit hole of skateboarding, more than I already was. So
what age did you move to Cali?
15.
Nice.
I moved out here with my dad and his girlfriend at the time so he could pursue music school. He went to MIT in Hollywood. We were supposed to originally move to Hollywood, but we showed up with like a U-Haul full of all our stuff and crashed in this hotel for about a week. And when he was getting registered within school and talking to everybody, he kind of came across, he figured out how ghetto Hollywood was. So he decided like, nah, I'm not gonna put you in school here and have you grow up like in your most influential time. So to save some cash, we ended up moving to the desert. It's called the Antelope Valley, the high desert, Palmdale and Lancaster, which is how it ties all into pharmacy board shop and how the journey of like the whole desert adventure on that 10-minute part that you were checking out just now. That's from all that time period, from right before I graduated high school until probably like 6 months before I moved out of there to Orange County.
Dude, there's something special about the desert. I love the desert.
I do too. And I met more unique, really cool, humble people out there, I think, than I have really so far anywhere in California. Maybe because I spent the most time there, but it's just something about the people. It's a really cool community.
They're there.
Maybe it's because there's less going on too, so the people want to be more tied together. They want to have more of like a community vibe going on versus maybe where you live in the city. People are too busy. It's too hectic. They don't have time for most of that.
Yeah.
That's what it seems to me.
There's definitely more space in the desert for sure, which is which is a nice privilege. That, and it gets really fucking hot, which the heat does weird things to people.
For sure. Like you go out to Arizona, everyone's a little different.
One of my favorite skaters from there, John Mata. Actually, a couple. Aaron Susky too, Tucson. But John Mata, he's just like such an eccentric person, and he's from the desert, and I think it's because he's been baked by the sun.
Yeah, the sun probably fries you to an extent mentally.
Yeah, in the best way with him, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. He started a supplement company, right?
Yeah, Roar Life, R-A-R, Roar, like roar.
I think
roar
I watched some small documentary on them. He had some sort of mental condition, I think, and he decided to stop taking all of his meds and seek out like a more natural, holistic route.
He called it the mania. The mania came, took him over, and then
that sounds like in the midst of filming a trick that's scary for yourself, and you're back there talking to yourself.
Yeah, you're like fighting your inner demons.
Yeah,
especially in the desert. Especially in the desert when it's hot and you're like you feel like we named our video for All I Need. Our second video was called In the Trenches. Because like when you're trying to trick and you feel like you're in the trenches of like army warfare because you're soaked from head to toe, you're beaten up, you're bloody, like you're scared because you're trying something that like your
legs
scared.
are shaking, you can't keep your eyes open because you're sweating so hard and it's burning like hell.
Yeah, you just need some grenades lobbed in there to make it even extra special.
I even tie the filmer into like in the trenches too, because he's the one out there getting melted in the sun or like getting smacked in the head because he wants this specific fisheye angle for the handrail trick, or you name it.
Yeah,
he's taking his lumps for the deal too.
He's in it is just as much because he gets the mental warfare too, because they're trying to encourage you and they're part of it filming, and you're like sometimes you feel bad. Like people always apologize to their filmers and shit like that. Like, remember back when there was just
caught myself doing it a bunch.
Oh,
I always
really?
like to just in the middle of shit. Like I always thank whoever I'm filming with. I'm like, dude, thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
Shouldn't take this long, but we're here.
Welcome to my hell. We've been here.
For sure.
Do you remember when there was just like shooting photos with sequences with film? That was the worst.
I would see it when we used to skate this one spot in the valley. Those like blue 9-stair rails that are real steep that everyone used to skate.
I know those.
And we used to go to this school a bunch, like every weekend for probably like 6 months to a year. This whole crew of dudes I grew up skating with.
What's the school called? Silmar?
Yeah, Silmar High. And I'd seen that before where, like, I don't know, name any random am or pro at the time, and they're shooting a photo of somebody. And you'd see how many tries they'd taken because the photographer would have all the rolls just out all over the wall right next to the spot. And
It's all
damn.
It's
like,
all money
damn, that's
too.
an expensive ad you're shooting. Fuck. Because then you got to go and you got to pay and develop all that shit. Hopefully it turns out.
Yeah. It was like every second was like another penny in visual form when you're not landing a trick. You're like, oh, God.
That's stress.
I mean, it's a little bit with like VX too, because you got to go buy the tapes and stuff. But like,
yeah, that's true.
But photography, for some reason, just like trying to shoot a sequence and piece it all together, and just the concept of frame by frame, just like blows my mind.
Those guys are G's, man. That's original gangster shit.
Dude, hell yeah. I pulled up where you're originally from, Elkhart, Indiana, on Wikipedia.
Oh, sick.
What's kind of looking into it. It's saying, is a city, Elkhart County, Indiana, United States. The city is located 15 miles east of South Bend, Indiana, 110 miles east of Chicago, Illinois, and 150 miles north of Indianapolis, Indiana. Elkhart has the largest population of the two principal cities of the Elkhart-Goshen Metropolitan Statistical Area, which is in turn is part of South Bend. Combined. Okay, cool. Just getting into the weeds now. The population was 50,000 in 2010.
Oh, it's got to be bigger now.
I
was actually living there from the end of 2013 until the summer of 2017.
Oh, you were back there?
Yeah, I actually had to go back there for a while due to an injury I went through, and whole bunch of life circumstances that just led me back there, and I had to basically just restart.
Did we talk about the injury?
Yeah, we talked about the injury in the last episode, but I remember you were saying there were some audio issues, so I don't know, maybe I go back over that again.
No, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I remember you told me a little bit about it, but please explain it again.
So skip forward after Palmdale life, I moved to Orange County in 2008. Moved into a skate house and bounced around to a couple different apartments with these homies I was staying with, and then ended up getting this job at this 24-hour diner. This job was a blessing, and what's the other word for it?
Curse.
And a curse, all in one.
Yeah.
Fully. Probably like the worst job I ever had in the end.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's the ones that teach you. So I had this job, and I started out as like a host at this restaurant because I didn't have any like serving tables experience. But they told me like in the interview, the guy that hired me was like, hey, if you stick around for a little bit, like we'd be willing to train you. I think that you could work out. So I ended up doing that, became a waiter, worked at this restaurant for a couple of years, but ended up getting kind of like pigeonholed to working like the third shift because it's a 24-hour diner. So when you work like a third shift job, it totally throws your sleep schedule out of whack.
Yeah.
And I was trying to do too much at this time in my life. I was trying to film video parts. I was working this full-time job, and I had gotten pretty deep into dabbling art. So I would spend basically too much time working on projects and working and just not resting enough. And I had finished putting out a little video part and had started working on another one. And I had this idea that I wasn't able to film working on the last project. So I was like hell bent on making this happen in the beginning. Because I was like, I just want to get this over with. And one of the things was I wanted to switch all of this triple set it's in Huntington out here where I live, where I lived at the time too. And I had worked the third shift, and then I went home, and I think I might have slept 4 or 5 hours, and I woke up, and I had this all planned out too.
You're gnarly, first of all.
I went and I swooped up the filmer homie that I was hanging out with at the time. Shout out Tam Lamb. He's the most epic filmer. I wish that guy still films skating, but he moved on to bigger, better things. Stoked for him. But anyways, where I went wrong was I showed up and I literally I was wearing brand new everything from head to toe, from socks to the shoelaces in my shoes to my whole entire Christmas complete. And I was cruising these bearings. I'd never got a chance to skate in the Bone Swiss before. So anybody that skated those know that that's got the juice. Those things are power.
Dude, you had the freshest setup. Was it because you were just feeling nice? Like, I'm gonna get as crispy as possible for this.
I wanted to come out crispy because I was like, we're gonna hit this triple set, and then we're gonna link with the homies and go skate a bunch of other spots for the day, and then end up at the night probably I don't know, get some food and barbecue or something. I had a whole plan for the day. It was like my weekend, and I'd worked my ass off all week, and I was like, forget this. We're gonna make this go down.
I'm going to say this before you carry forward is I totally understand because I'm one who likes to skate when I'm exhausted. Like, I'll do something like that where I'll get 4 hours of sleep and fucking work a full job, and then you just get sparked because you're like, I did all that work, and now I was like, I'm basically dead, but my energy is going to carry me there.
And at the time, I was sucking back energy drinks like an idiot. So I didn't eat any breakfast. I just slammed one of those big old green monsters and a bunch of water, and I showed up juiced. I was ready to smash. Well, I tried my trick on this thing. I ollied it once, and then I was like, well, I never jumped down this thing switch. So I got to go mega fast. So there's this big parking lot, and they had recently just repaved it with fresh blacktop, and it's kind of slightly downhill. So picture all that plus the new setup and the new bearings. I'm coming in smashing, probably I would picture 20 or 25 miles an hour because I was what I call a football run. I'd start all the way at the corner of the parking lot and just huck carcass as hard as I could because I can't push that coordinated, that fast switch. I can only do it regular at that top-notch output or whatever.
How tall are you?
Almost 6'4".
Yeah,
I'm 6'4", almost 200 pounds. So
you
it's
got fucking stride on you.
I would like to think I could get it going when I need to.
Well said.
So I jumped down the first thing regular. I ollied it. I tried to switch all at once, and I kicked out and was like, okay, all right, I could do this because I actually can go fast enough. And then literally after that, every try I committed, I landed on it. But you land into a 4-way intersection, and it lands into these little curb cuts where the sidewalk's designed to feed you right into the street.
Yeah.
So you land on a little incline. So I kept slipping out on that because I couldn't figure out how to just put enough pressure forward on the front leg. And the last try, I landed, and somehow my back foot slipped off the tail because I had probably gotten a little air foot or something. And with the brand new shoe, it's not quite broke in on the brand new grip tape. So if it's not in a specific point, it's just going to slip. Well, I slipped. Yeah. And then because the shoe's brand new, my leg drug behind me, and the sole, the corner of the shoe skipped off the pavement 3 times. And then it spiral broke my leg.
grippiness of the shoes because they were
Yeah,
brand
so
new.
it was like it came through for all the other tries, but it was the air foot is what did me in. But I wasn't going out not committing because every other try I had it.
Yeah.
So like I land, I slip out. I thought I just rolled my ankle because like I fell all crazy and like I drug my leg in front of me and I look at it and my foot is like cocked all crazy, like 45 degrees to the side and then kicked all gnarly. And I just remember like shaking my head and going, that's not right. And I just grabbed it and I yanked it back in spot. I reset it myself. And when I did, when I reset it, it was like almost like my body was a piece of machinery, and I heard this crazy noise in my head, almost like a locking mechanism. Do do.
Not
And
good.
when I heard the sound, I had this this really extreme rush of endorphins and adrenaline that hit me, and it was like blasted me off for a second almost.
That and the Monster Energy, or just like
Yeah, that for sure. I should have never even been messing with that crap in a can. But anyways, I actually got up because I thought that I had like dislocated it, and I reset it, and I got up from where I'd slipped out, and I turned around and I walked back to my homie like 5 or 6 steps, and he goes, "Dude, you okay?" And I was like, "I think I just really rolled the shit out of it. We should probably get going." And he's like, "What? Are you sure?" And I turned around and I went to take one step like towards the car where I was parked, and my leg did this like noodle thing.
Oh, man.
And then the adrenaline hit me even harder, and I turned around and I was like, "Yo, we gotta go." And my dumb ass, instead of using my skateboard as a crutch, I literally hopped on one leg, a block and a half to my car, and then hopped in the car and then drove straight to the hospital, and session was over. But the bad part about it was that I had to get x-rays to make sure it was all good. Well, when I got the x-ray, they told me like, "Oh, well, actually you anatomically realigned it correctly. Like, there's nothing we could do for you there in that aspect, but the way that you broke it, you're going to need surgery." And I kind of just started freaking out a little bit in my head because I didn't have any insurance. And they go, "Well, here's some paperwork. Here's a pain prescription. We're going to send you on your way. Best of luck." So I basically had to figure it out from there. I sat in my bed at my house, and this chick that I was dating at the time kind of helped me a little bit with some stuff. For like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks before I got it fixed. So the only way I made it through was like a pile of Vicodin and a pile of cannabis, because I was like turning colors. I remember I told you this last time. I was hanging out with a friend of mine one day, stopped by to see how I was doing, and I was wearing a blue shirt, and he said that I was turning blue and I was starting to match my shirt.
Not good. Not good.
Yeah, it was not good for sure. So, you know, pain prescriptions, I don't back that because everybody in America seems to have a huge issue with that. But in that moment in time, I don't know if I would have got through it without that and then the pile of cannabis. So power to the cannabis.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's pain medication. Definitely, there's probably extreme situations where it helps, but it can easily be abused for sure.
For sure. I would
CBD
would have been around at the time.
Yeah.
That would have been pivotal.
So, dude, they were just like, you came out, they're like, "You're a doctor. You set your leg back in place. You should."
They were like, "It's crazy, but you put it right back where it needed to go. So there's nothing we can do there."
They're like,
but
"Dr.
I
Andrew."
definitely had like the panic attack of my life. I think that changed me from like a little dude to a man, dealing with like that amount of like stress and pain and like uncertainty. I think after I went through that, I was like, "Shit, dude, I can handle anything. I'm all good. Like, we're chilling."
Yeah.
Can't get any worse than folding my leg in half. And then, well, what really led all to like what I was getting at with the Indiana story was the chick I was dating at the time. I ended up losing my job, or not losing my job right away, but I had to get it held on for disability. But then because I didn't make enough from disability, I couldn't keep my apartment. So I had to move out of my apartment. I ended up moving in with my girlfriend at the time and her family. Shout out to the Estes family. I wouldn't have been able to make it without them. So
Shout out.
super freaking lucky on like a whole nother level.
Good looks.
Shout out to Lorraine and her family.
Helps. I needed some help with my upbringing, and my friend's family took me in, and I graduated high school because of it. So for real.
That's dope, man. That's really dope to hear that.
Was this the server job you lost?
Yeah, this was the server job I lost, and then
Wait,
I
before we
moved
go
in with
forward,
them.
how'd you like the serving job?
See, I kind of liked the work at first, but then in a way, it started to jade me because I realized people are at their worst when they're hungry. So
Sure.
you're encountering maybe some of the best humans you've ever met, but at their worst moment in the day. And you're always the punching bag. That was my hang up. I got a little jaded, and I think that it made me a little bit more of an introverted person in the long run.
It's good
I
to
was
have.
a lot more extroverted when I was younger, but as I've gotten older, I tend to enjoy my own solo mission time throughout the day versus like constantly being consumed with company or conversation.
Yeah, yeah. I
Gives you
get that.
time to reflect.
I like it. I get it. I'm weird because I go like back and forth.
I'm kind of the same way. It's probably a good healthy dose to be 50-50 if you can manage it that way.
You're right. I'm trying to balance it as well. That's why I have the gym membership. But just because the pool, I can just go swimming. Don't hear you just you kind of swim and don't hear anything, and you're not really talking when you're swimming. You're kind of thinking and
I
skating
think
obviously.
cardio. I think
Yeah.
cardio is key for like meditative purposes and key to like getting your thinking on track to where like you want to be, thinking more slightly ahead of yourself. I'm not too much of a future tripper, but I think everybody that wants to up their game and up their level in life, you should for sure work out. I think at least do something to break a sweat daily.
Yeah, man.
I
I
think the
like.
mental clarity comes through the sweat.
Yeah, definitely. You're engaged. We're just energy and meat sacks, and the energy
Well
needs
spoken.
the energy needs to be moved. We have to do something with it, and if we don't, then that's just what happens. It
It
stagnates.
stagnates.
Yeah, I for mental clarity and stuff. I don't do it all the time, but once in a while I'll do that sensory deprivation tank. I love that thing.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. I really, really want to try that. That seems like out of all of the meditative practices, that's probably pretty high on the mountaintop.
It's nice just because it literally cuts off your senses, and your senses are like, as you know, how you perceive the world, and they're turned on all the time. I mean, that's probably why we got to sleep, so you get the negative space.
Sensory overload, you got to get your brain to like wipe all the stuff out of there that's just filler.
Yeah, it's got to process all the input it takes in throughout the whole day, and sometimes we miss days of sleep and stuff. So that float tank helps me because I feel like I gain a few days of sleep because I'm floating out in space with no real gravity because it's salt water. And then it shuts off my hearing because I got earplugs. And then you're in a tank and you can't see, and you're just like, you're all
And
your
the salt
senses.
water is like probably good ailments, all the old injuries and aches.
Yeah, that's why I really like it. Is it just like, yeah, basically makes you get out and you feel like you're 2 years younger or something.
For
Just all
sure.
the all the swelling out of your joints. It's amazing, dude. And your posture, it helps with posture because you're just floating, so your body like figures it out, like how to float out in space.
That's sick. I definitely got to look into that. I know there's quite a few out here. I just haven't taken the time yet.
Yeah, dude. If you ever see one, just go. It's usually like $40 to $60, and it's for an hour. I did 2 hours one time. It got really high, and I just like had a hard time coming back to my body. I was like, oh my god, I was out of it for a long time. Because when you're laying there, dude, I was laying there out in space with all my senses off, super high, and like when you do that for a long time, it's like, especially me, because I'm kind of an overthinker. Like I analyze shit a lot, and just like I have.
You probably feel like you transcend in a sense.
Well, it lets it all work out because, dude, sometimes we get carried away with life and we have so many thoughts going on at once, and it's all bouncing around in there. And then like when you go in the tank,
Oh,
it's just
I'm
like,
a part of that group for sure.
yeah, when you go in that tank and all your other senses cut off, your brain is the only thing you can kind of really focus on, and it kind of unravels, and you start to be like, okay, this is like not a worry that I got to let go because it's not a big deal anymore, or this or that, or you can dump a lot of thoughts and emotions in there. I like cried one time because I was just thinking about my mom, and life's so crazy that I hadn't had time to reflect on her passing, you know? So like I went in the tank and like all my senses were cut off and just my thoughts. And then I just kind of like got to like thinking about my mom. And I was like, it kind of helped me, you know, because I had a little bit of closure, you know, to think about it.
Helps you work past maybe the last little bit of hangups you were having about your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I still have a lot of hangups in that particular
Yeah,
area, but it helped
that
me
might
get.
be a lifelong journey of working through.
But it definitely helped. It helped with one like hang up, if any. There might be multiple, but I definitely cried something out, and I felt better after. I was like, damn. And it was only because I was able to have all my senses cut off. Like even at night, like even just normal sleep's hard for me to do that. You know, I even dreaming
Maybe
at
you
night.
need like a good ambient noise or something, or like
Maybe.
get one of those little like waterfall sculptures for your room.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You might have to wake up and use the restroom a bunch, though. I don't know if that'll be the drawback.
That's true, right? A little trickle
Right?
on that.
I just thought it'd be cool, right? Like this little bonsai tree Zen garden thing where it's like off in the corner and creates like something to like zen out on while you're trying to lay there and go to sleep. Because it takes me forever to go to sleep every night. Like sometimes I'll lay there for 2 straight hours and be like, why? You can't count sheep. You can't do anything. You just got to like figure out how to focus on your breathing. It's really the only trick I could ever recommend.
Yeah, or just sheer physical exhaustion. You have to like go.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Those nights are just the days where you didn't go out and juice your body enough. Your body's so used, especially as skateboarders, we're so used to a certain level of, I don't know, torture. Or just having to physically push yourself beyond like a normal amount of energy, that your body gets conditioned to that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So you lose your job and you end up in Indiana.
I ended up living with this chick. I go back to the job after I do all my recovery because I had to have 2 surgeries. I had a big plate and 7 screws put in my leg. For the first surgery, I go 6 months, and then I'm having all sorts of swelling issues. I go see my doctor. He's like, well, I don't know. Let's see what's up with it. Let's see how it's healing. I get my x-rays. He says, I'm healing so well, we can't even see the fracture mark from where you broke it. I was doing all sorts of crazy shit to heal. I was obsessed, like 7 days a week. So I was like, yeah, like, he goes, you know, you could either keep the hardware in there and learn to adapt to it, or we could take it out. And I said, get it out of there. Take it out. I feel like I can't live my life with metal in my leg. So I go through another surgery. They slice the same spot open. They unscrew everything. They hook you back up. And when I came out of surgery that time, that's probably the most pain out of the whole process was the second time because the scar tissue and all that.
When they took it all out, you're saying?
Yeah, when they took it all out, like when I woke up from surgery, it was like I was ran over by an elephant and then punched by a train and then like shit on by Bigfoot or something, dude. It was fucked. But I eventually I recovered to where I could like walk normally. And then I went back to the job, but then they stuck me right back on the 3rd shift again. And in order to heal, you got to keep yourself on a good circadian rhythm. And that completely ruins your whole rhythm. So like I had to figure out how to get a different job. And the manager wouldn't work with me or listen to me. So I just went into work one night and I worked like half my shift and then just quit. And then through a string of failed job circumstances, I eventually decided that I needed to move back to Indiana so I could spend some time with my family and jump back on my feet. So I moved back to Indiana from 2013 to the middle of 2017. And I picked up painting as a trade. I was painting houses and I worked for a few different companies. And a buddy of mine from high school actually got me into it. And I thought it was pretty cool because I've always been into art. I like to paint and draw and stuff. And it never occurred to me like, oh shit, I could sling paint for a paycheck. Damn, I should totally do that. So I've been doing that for about 5 years now.
Damn, sick.
Pretty stoked because it was the whole way that I was able to transition and move back out here. Up until recently, I got laid off my job, which is actually another blessing in disguise because now I got a little bit more time to pursue skating and figure out how to maybe position myself in a job where it's not so physical so I could put more energy into skating. Because my whole like skate life journey at least since I left the desert, has just been focused primarily on like how do you keep your finances right and chasing work and the dollar, and then like figuring out how to fit in the rest of what you want to do with your life and your free time. And to do what I want to do, and I'm sure the way that you did it and everyone else that we watch that does it, you need a lot of time to do that. And it's like the weird balance you have to find between resources and time and finances.
For sure.
And without like any sort of like leg up or any sort of like support system, it's going to be pretty difficult to figure out how to do that.
I got an idea. So,
well, but that was at that time. Like nowadays, I mean, I've got a few different more avenues that I could seek out, and probably maybe a better network of people maybe I could contact. And it's just a matter of time and circumstance to figure out where it's all headed. But for now, I got way more time to skate, and I've been trying to capitalize on it.
yeah, that's awesome. I would say maybe like just start a stream of something with skate content or something skate related, so that you put something out once a week, because then there's like this thing that you're creating and working at, and then people might want to support it, you know, if they like it and watch it.
That's a good idea. Appreciate that. As of now, I've just been trying to keep up on the social media. I do like an Instagram account, a Facebook account, and I've got like an archive of a whole bunch of old footage. So the video part that you're watching is a part of a new YouTube channel that I just started. And I found a way to track down all my old video parts and a bunch of raw filed clips. And I got them all on a hard drive. And then I created the YouTube account, and I posted everything that I could get a hold of on there, except for one single video part that I put out in like 2010 when I lived in Huntington, like right before I went through the injury. But due to like music rights, YouTube actually took it off of YouTube, and it's on an old account that I don't have the information to tap back into it because it's linked to an old cell phone number that I had.
Do you know where it is?
Google. Oh, well, some shit with Google too. They bought out YouTube at one point, and it changed the way that the infrastructure works. So there was no way that I could do like a password recovery or any of that because I don't have the old phone number that's attached to it. It's a weird hang up. But I don't care. So I started the new one, and I've got all of that stuff archived on there now. And I have all the original files from the part that isn't on YouTube anymore. So what I've just been doing lately is I've just been taking single clips, and I post them whenever on my Instagram as like just extra content on top of like all the stuff I do when I go out and skate.
Well, that's awesome. And I like it because it's like you're digitizing, you're moving into like the next thing. You're like digitizing your skating. Like I've done that with I have all this archives of hard drives of just stuff I've collected. I've always went out in a way to ask the filmer for the clips and for the raw clips and everything. So I just have all that, and it's cool to like be able to put it on the internet where it's going to live, you know, where assuming that humanity moves forward, it'll be there for our lifetime, you know, like.
Yeah, for sure. That's my whole favorite part about skateboarding, I think, is being able to go out and create content, like document the session and get a clip that you actually worked for, that when you look back, you go like, damn, that took a lot of work to do that. I'm really proud of that. Or like, I'm really stoked that I got that trick because I've never did that trick on any other spot because maybe the spot dictates the trick, or, you know, those kinds of circumstances where you look back and you're super thankful about how you got to spend that time.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a collection of memories to go back and see it all, you know. Even like that's what people trip out on. Like I go back to photography again, like people with they shoot photos, print them out and stuff, and just like have it all on their walls and everywhere, and then like to have it digitally. Like I go through the YouTube channel, and I've been doing mine for, God, it's been years now. I think like 2011 maybe. So like
I gotta ask,
years.
I think that you possibly were the first skateboard podcast.
Maybe, possibly. I
caught on to your stuff in about 2015.
Yeah, I was super early even for podcasts, let alone skate podcasts. But there might have been another one, but I didn't hear about it. I just like started learning about podcasts and listening to like philosophers and like comedians, and I was like, well, it's just such a cool medium. And like they were just saying like, hey, if you have something to talk about, and I've always like had stuff to talk about, like because I overthink a lot and I analyze things a lot just from
And your
like,
journey through the skateboard world and all the individuals that you got to come in contact with and all the stories you created along that journey, I'm sure.
oh, of course, of course. So like I've always like been curious and just overthinker, and just like every time I meet like a new person or a new skate soul, I'm just like so curious about them, you know? Like almost a fanboy of a lot of people to some degree of skating, you know? Like
I can relate to that too, because it's almost like by hearing a part of their story, maybe you learn a little bit about your own.
yeah, well said. Yeah, definitely. Or at
I
least like
think
you at
I
least get to meet
think
someone
that's
that
why
has.
I am.
Say it again.
I think that's why I am that way. That's why I relate to that statement for sure, because it's like I'm trying to learn about myself through other people's like perspectives.
Definitely. That's like one of the best ways to learn, you know? You got to be open enough to like be able to think like that. It's not always easy. But yeah, I agree, man. Humans are our greatest resource because like we're all trying to figure it out and we can help or hurt each other, you know? But if we're all aiming at good things, I like skateboarders too because it's like an unspoken language. Because especially if you see someone who's been skating a lot and they're usually doing pretty good in life because they've been like working on something or being engaging or being in a moment. Like to skateboard, you got to have balance and be doing it, you know? So like, you know that they're not just sticking around all the time, you know? But partly though. But yeah. I love skateboarding and people. And that's
For sure.
they were like,
Skateboarding is one of the greatest things that ever happened in my entire existence.
amen, dude. Hell yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And the podcast just came in because I was like, I realized that I could connect to people, which is an awesome idea, but also terrifying. Because like you don't always want to talk, you know what I mean? Like
Nah.
I just did
Sometimes
it.
you want to be introvert and shut down and just like recoup.
Yeah, and I set like a standard. I was like, I want to do it once a week, just because I wanted to challenge myself. I was like, if I can meet a new person or like sit down and testimonial about my own life or talk or whatever once a week, then I'm present and I'm in a moment and I'm sticking to something once a week, you know. So the podcast was like an experience for myself, but also to connect with others. It was just like a challenge to myself and a way to connect to others. And that's an awesome thing to have to be able to do. We couldn't do that before.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true. Everything was a little bit more shut off, a little bit, information was a bit more esoteric.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in the skateboard industry. Like it was videos and magazines, and videos were like a VHS and then DVDs eventually. And then
That's
photos.
why I'm so hyped on the medium of podcasts and like skateboard related content like what you do and these other guys out here are doing, because for somebody like me who's always wanted to do something with skateboarding, but maybe I didn't know the right people to talk to with more perspective about the way things works. When I hear these shows or these podcasts, you hear stories and you hear perspective from people that did it firsthand, and it's really cool
Hell yeah.
because that wasn't available for individuals like myself before.
Nah, dude, we were
So I
reading
get
it.
to
We
learn
were reading print.
vicariously through that information. And
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't have to be overbearing, or I don't have to put people on the spot, like that kind of thing. Maybe when you want to find out information about stuff that isn't available, you got to go bug people. You don't have to go bug people now. It's out there. Just go look it up.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. We tap into the collective of all of our intelligence, you know? Problem is you can curate like a little hell for yourself. Like if you have bad patterns and you're like, I'm going to listen to this person, even though it's just like hurting me and fucking me up. Like the internet's so powerful for good or bad, you know? It's insane, man.
yeah, the level of influence through just that one medium is amazing.
Yeah,
I feel like
man.
it blows like our parents' generation. Like it blows them away when they like talk about it.
It can be like world altering, you know? So it's insane, man. And we're only moving further that way, it seems. So it's just like.
Speaking of the influence of all of that, look up a new it's a documentary based style film on Netflix. I
What's it
believe
called?
it's called Hacked or The Hack. I forget exactly. It has to do with all of that. Did you hear anything about an influence in the presidential election that Trump was involved in when he became Trump, and a company called Cambridge Analytica?
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Look at that documentary. It goes into detail about like this whole behind the scenes story. It'll blow your mind.
Is it that Trump worked with the Russians to have troll accounts basically sway the election? Or am I tripping?
That's like a small part of the story, but they don't really touch so much on the Russians. It's more or less like this. It's basically this giant propaganda machine of a company that they hired in order to influence or sway voters in a particular way with using technology.
Yeah, they're making tons of fake accounts probably, and just
That
I
was
see
one of
that.
the things. Yeah, that was one
Yeah,
of the things for sure.
dude. Sometimes I'll post something and I'll get like an account, and I'm like, this is clearly someone created this account. It's a bot, first of all, and the bot has opinions and political leanings, and but it's not a human. You know, I'm like, who would create that? You know?
Who would take the damn time?
Yeah, they would do it
Who's
because
got time for this kind of shit?
it's like it's like information war. You know, people are trying to flood the market with like ideas to sway their politics or something.
Yeah,
It's
everyone's
weird.
got a vested interest in politics at one level or another, it seems.
Yeah, it pulls you in, dude. I'm like, I've been watching so
Sounds
much.
like an understatement.
I watched a bunch, man, and it's just like, I don't know.
I'm too uninformed to have a political opinion. I try not to really discuss that or religion too in depth with too many people. I find skateboarders, it's kind of navigatable, but even then, so maybe just avoid that stuff because it's kind of like I always look at like religion or politics or like sexual preference or anything that's on that personal level as like that's just your shit. Like you don't have to share it. I guess maybe if it came up in a particular conversation and it pertains to something, but I trip out on people like just in public that just are so willing to just like provide information that you didn't ask for.
Well, if they build their whole identity on one thing and there's no balance, then that's like a problem. Like if I was going to talk about religion, I would be like, yeah, I like the concept. I like the idea of a God, something that we aspire to that's bigger than us, that we just will try to get to, but may never, it's you're dreaming so big and you're aiming at good things and trying to figure out how to get better. Like I like the concept of it, but it's not my whole identity. And I definitely don't have all the answers, but some people are so like, their whole world relies on either their politics or their religion or like, I was like that with skating. Like skating was my religion.
Honestly, I was like that with skateboarding.
I bet.
Overbearing and just couldn't shut up about it. And I was just way too hyped and probably pretty annoying to be around for a second.
Better that than something else. Better
yeah,
that than
I just looked at it like it's just perpetuating nothing but positivity for me. And maybe that's why I was so overly boisterous about it at times.
I totally get it, man.
Everyone's got a bandwagon they're trying to get somebody to jump on.
Yeah, man. So, all right. So let's go back to after the injury and how you feeling now? Your legs?
I'm pretty good, man. I still have a little bit of residual effects because what the orthopedist that gave me my surgery told me that when I broke my leg, this main ligament that you have right here on the inside of the ankle, where kind of you get all your hot pocket and your power and your pop and stuff from, I unplugged that from the bone when I broke it.
Oh my god.
So within like the 6 months of the first surgery, of just like, I think it was like half of that time I was in a cast, somehow from whatever I was doing and the way I was thinking, somehow I healed it. Nice. It was according to him. But I still think I have like residual scar tissue problems because I still get like weird like bruising issues if I skate too much, or when I go and I jump and I huck down something, like a flip trick down something, and I don't like get it right away. It takes me a bunch of tries. I'll be beat up for like 3 or 4 days and the ankle is kind of swollen.
Yeah.
But like stretching and then like ice baths for the feet, that kind of stuff, I usually go back to normal eventually. I use you ever mess with arnica rub?
Yep.
That stuff works really good for bruising too. I tend to use that a lot. I used to be on Tiger Balm, but I was tired of everything turning orange. And like that overbearing peppermint scent that almost becomes a flavor.
Dude, every tour van ever is that and sunflower seeds. Like, what the
sunflower seeds and the smell of like dirty socks.
Yeah. Crotches, weed, Tiger Balm. Gross.
Good times. Good nostalgia.
That's the trenches for you.
Hey, that's what every kid's dream is, though, to get in the van, man. You get in the van, shit's on.
Oh, it's so sick. I still like. We're going on a trip this weekend coming up. We're going up to Maine and we're basically camping out and skating this dude's ramp. It's a Rob stock. It's low card mag. You ever heard of low card?
I think I heard you talking about this in the last podcast that you did with the guy who he's been doing it for 10 years, I think.
Oh yeah, that was Mike, but Mike does Central Mass, which is
that's Central Mass. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to.
I'm not too good with the geography from where you come from. I haven't been there yet. It's part of it.
Yeah, well, Central Mass is like a skate event that's going to go down Friday. That one will be super fun. We'll be there, skate a mini ramp, and there's a little street setup. That's going to be fun. And then from there, we're driving like 5 hours into Maine, and it's Rob Collison, who owns Low Card Magazine, and he basically
sick. Low Card's rad.
Yeah, he just basically invites everybody out to the middle of Maine, all the people that like are in the mag or support the mag, out to the middle of Maine to his childhood home. And his childhood
I heard
home.
You talk about this.
Yeah.
You guys go out there and camp, and it's just like a free for all. It's like Woodstock for skateboarding.
Dude, exactly. It's his childhood home, and it's rotting into the ground. There's holes in the roof. It's decaying into the ground, and they built ramps all up to it and next to it and shit. And we just shred his house into the ground.
That's pretty gnarly. Chronicles of Narnia.
It's insane, dude. There's like Tent City when you walk in. When you first get to the property and you're walking in, there's just everybody set up with. Yeah, it's so great. There's one tent that said Pussy Palace on it. Someone spray painted on it. I was like, what? It's sick, but it's like chaotic and crazy. It's just like a 2-day party. Like last year, it started raining at night, and all the townies from Maine that didn't even skate, just like the local people, the creatures, they came out and they're just jamming, and then they're jumping off the mini ramp like onto fucking kegs and shit in the
so
rain.
There's like people that live on the property year round.
No, they're just like townies. Like they creep in, they hear about it.
Yeah. Just because everybody knows it's like a local event that's been going on for a while.
Dude, yeah, because every time it's like all these skateboarders show up to this small ass town and they're going to the store and shit. Like I went in and they're like, they thought we were blueberry pickers because I guess there's like people that go in. We looked like a blueberry picker maybe because that's like probably work out there. And but now we're like, yeah, we're here for Rob stock. They're like, oh, this is happening, you know?
They're probably stoked. That probably boosts the local economy while you guys are around.
Oh, definitely. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Feed a bunch of money into the system real quick.
Yeah, skateboarding, people come together for it, so it's usually pretty good, you know? It's sick, man. It just got a little backyard wrestling for me at night, so I had to leave and go sleep at camp.
Yeah, you got to go, like, recoup and step away from that for a second, I bet. Yeah, everybody starts smashing too many adult beverages. It gets a little awkward.
Dude, super heavy. Seriously, we were camped out like a mile down the road, and I could just hear stadium roars from the mini ramp into like 4 a.m. And I'm like, we're sitting in the tent, and I'm like, dude, there's no way anyone's doing anything that gnarly. Like, there's no way. They're just all fucking wasted for sure. We go in, they're getting that gnarly still. There's like my homies like on mushrooms doing fucking nose blunts on the sketchy ramp, and then like
he's tapping into a starhead body.
Yeah, they're out there. It's a fucking trip, dude. I also ate clams. No, I ate what did I eat? I ate a lobster and some sort of clams, and it got me sick like the clams did because I was just like heat exhaustion, smoked too much weed. I was tripping balls because of these things. It was intense.
That's a new one. I never heard of that.
It was intense. It was like it was just like hot. I smoked too much weed, drank some beer, ate some clams that might have been bad, and then I was just like pacing around Robstock, losing my mind. It was insane, man.
That is insane, yeah.
But it's fun, dude. Let me see some of the paintings, man. You showed me a little.
So this is like a bunch of stuff that I had been working on when I lived in Indiana, and then this one, let's see. That one right there, the green one, I finished since I've lived here in this house in Huntington. But since I've moved back here, I kind of really haven't been creating too much artwork. I've just been focusing on chasing money and skating more. It's too nice here. You know about that Southern California sun and how it's too easy to just be outside all day.
Yeah, I get that.
Or not, depending on who you're spending your time with.
That one up in the corner, what is that, white canvas?
There's some boards and some other shit that I made.
That's sick, man. That stuff looks sick. That painting in the top left, is that like what's the material it's made out of? The white canvas one up in the left?
Oh, the white one, that's a store-bought canvas, but it's just a really intricate piece of artwork. Let's see if I could get closer. I had to plug my damn phone in because it was gonna die.
I get it. You know, it looks so sick. Do you sell this stuff online anywhere?
I haven't really decided what I was gonna do with it. I've got a whole idea dedicated towards it, like even like an artist alias and like a logo that I've created and a name for a website and all that. I just haven't taken the time to save up funds and buy the licensing and all that to legitimize it. But in the future, I would really like to see if I couldn't figure out how to make a full-time living off creating art when I get a little bit older.
Yeah, man.
So I've been creating art since I was I've been drawing since I was 2 years old, but I've been creating art since probably right around the same time I found skateboarding.
Sick.
And then the painting thing, I've been doing that. I don't know. I found graffiti first is what happened.
Sick.
Spray painting on, just back alley walls and trains and whatever I could get away with when I was a teenager. And then when I moved to the desert, I met some homies in high school that all wrote graffiti, and I was a part of a graffiti crew for a little bit.
What? Sick.
JFC, jamming from cops, just fucking crazy crew.
Sick.
Shout out to those homies. They were fun to hang out with, but they were too wild for me.
Hey, you gotta hang out with them.
Yeah, I eventually just decided I gotta stop being a little shithead and I gotta get back to skateboarding. And then the moment that I started to apply myself to skateboarding is when I found the situation of being able to ride for pharmacy. And then that started the whole journey to where I'm at now, which is kind of a trip. So art and skateboarding are pretty hand in hand. They kind of have created the path that I've taken and the decisions that I've decided to make to how I want to spend my time and live my life.
Yeah, hell yeah. I back that.
Hell yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. I think you could set up like a Facebook page up too, and I think you can sell stuff on there. I would just put some up just to see. You never know. Someone might see it and be like, damn, sick.
I post some of the stuff sometimes on my social media. I had started this free platform for an e-commerce store through this website called Big Cartel. They cater to artists specifically. I started that in the PayPal. I've literally done everything I could do except for legitimize it and get prints made. That's kind of why I haven't decided to sell any of my originals yet. I want to try to create a limited run of prints for each one of these bigger projects I've worked on, because when you do that, you create a limited run of prints and you hand number them all and you sign them, and it actually creates value for your originals. And I would like to be able to sell the originals for a good price due to the amount of material and time I spent on them. And not everybody's really willing to invest a substantial amount of money into a piece of art unless they're a collector for the most part. Yeah. So I'd like to be able to offer the prints too for the people that are into my style and the stuff that I create, but for a cheaper price, so that they don't feel like they're making an investment to get a piece of it that they could hang on their wall.
Yeah, man.
So I got to learn some things about the business end of it too. That's why I'm taking my sweet ass time. I would like to be able to start it strong and do it right, instead of starting it off and having a bunch of hang-ups and maybe potentially losing opportunities along the way because I didn't do my due diligence.
Yeah, man. That's good that you're enjoying it and you're taking your time, that's the best way for sure.
I got super committed to it. So I got it tattooed on my arm, the logo that I created to represent all of it. It's basically an ideology. So the tattoo reminds me of the ideology, and then when I look at the tattoo, it's also a reminder of the commitment. So at one point you need to set aside time to start that journey.
Yeah.
That you put all that work into.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. The thing is, I feel like we could live our dreams, but they're never nothing's free. It's you have to work for it. So even everyone wants to make tons of money skating, but a lot of times that becomes your job. Running a skateboard company, I get to be a part of it, but it's stuff I don't want to do either. It's a job at some point, The fun part is
away from the actual time of riding the skateboard. The whole reason why you started it all.
Exactly. But it's
It's a
all,
trade-off. It's
yeah,
trade-off though, right?
anything you do a lot becomes work, you know what I mean, to some degree. And you don't want to not have work. You don't want to escape. Like, work will help you grow. Like, even if I just want to work on things that matter with people that matter. So that's why I aim at skateboarding, whether it's like through podcasting or being consistent with my YouTube channel or keep growing the brands. It's like I get to like work with more and more skateboarders. We started a magazine. We have our first issue actually dropped. Just like things that we could work on together and find a way to like do it, you know, like, and it's, we just got to work at it, you know.
Do
It's
you
like,
shoot photos for your magazine as well, or do you just work with other photographers?
oh dude, we have so I, in the next issue I'll have some of my photography, but we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, like 12 different contributing photographers. And like,
That's really cool. You're pooling together like another community of individuals to work with you as well.
yeah man, we put an ad in for the podcast. It's sick,
So
man.
sick.
It's got a trip to Florida we did. We just did a limited run too, like a small run, and gave them out to like shops that support All I Need and cop boards and t-shirts and stuff. And like some people, when they cop online, I'll throw the mag in or like random stuff in their boxes. So like, but like, to me, what I'm saying is like, I've always just wanted to work on skateboarding, and because it's like something worth working at. And it feels like art and skateboarding is like hand in hand. Those are two things worth working at, that kind of like self-discovery. It challenges you, it promotes growth, like you enjoy it. Like, we should be able to do things we enjoy and make a living, you know?
I think America's great enough to where you can figure out how to make that path for yourself. It's just weird in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go through a bunch of ups and downs and maybe some disappointments. And maybe you're going to have to change your perspective along the way to figure out what you got to get where you want to be, because it's a lot of unforeseen circumstances with what we like to do. And I think even more so for the artists. I think the art world's even more cutthroat versus like other creative routes. Because
Yeah.
it's really cliquey and opinion based from what I've gathered out a lot of it. Even more so than skateboarding. And
That's
skateboarding
hard.
seems to be like skateboarding seems to be the epitome of that.
That's
Not
the best
everybody
worst
gets
thing
cut
ever.
not everybody gets cut the same deal.
Go to Slap Message Board and say this.
Ooh, I'm gonna open up a fucking can of worms.
It's amazing.
I've never even like checked that out. I've heard stories.
It's the best worst thing ever. It's a complete awesome waste of time in the best way.
Okay, so if you're hanging out and you just want a few minutes to kill,
Yeah, make sure
it sounds a lot like maybe other internet shit that you could look up. You know, it's a good time. It's funny. You ever look at the people of Walmart.com?
Oh yeah, you'll find all types of characters, all
That
different scenarios.
that one's a pretty entertaining thing. Poorlifechoices.com is a pretty funny one.
Oh, I'm checking poor life choices.
That's one I haven't checked out in like ages though, so I can't tell you if it's like updated or new though.
Regarding Slap though, there's definitely like some humor on there, and there's some wittiness, and then there's just a bunch of like petty garbage.
Haters.
But like, yeah, it depends on the day. Like, I'll go check in once in a while and see what these guys are into, because seems like they have no interest besides just being a skateboarder. You know, it's not like they're politicking, but it's like, I don't know.
They're politicking about like whose new shoe dropped or whose grip tape graphic is whack or something like.
Yeah, there's different sub chapters too on the forum. Like, my friend was like, "Oh, go to like the one where it's photography and filmers talking." Like, there's different domains that I didn't go into yet, but I got it. You know.
I bet you it depends on like the individual being discussed, the level of camaraderie or hate that's being dished out.
There has to be a place for it, man. A release valve. Let it go, bro. That's what I look at Twitter as. I'm like, Twitter is like everyone's internal thoughts or like experiment in thought or idea, and they're just putting it all out there. And it's just like
I've never done Twitter. Twitter could be a bit of a word vomit site.
Yeah.
People just barf up their thoughts.
It's intense. There's too many too. There's so many platforms nowadays. There's like Twitter.
What
Facebook.
makes it so what makes Twitter so intriguing? I've always wanted to ask somebody who's partaken in that. I've never Never downloaded the app and started an account.
Well, so Twitter at its best is like, it opens up conversation. You know, it limits how many words you can use, so you have to like craft what you're actually trying to say at its best.
You gotta be articulate, huh?
Yeah, you could be articulate, and then you could have a bunch of other people that are sharp and witty or clever, or like it opens up cool dialogue, and it has some restraint. It's got its good advantages, but at its worst, it's just like any other platform. It's just ridiculous. It's like mean, evil, fucking. There's everything on there. I mean, Twitter even lets there just be porn up there, like no big deal. So if you're a porn star and you want to put up all your shit, go right ahead. Like it's the Wild West, you know.
So people are probably making money off that platform too, then, huh?
I'm sure. Like, I mean, that's kind of the way things are
I'd
going.
imagine that's probably why it exists, though, because there's some monetary gain to be had from it.
Well, the exchange of ideas and thoughts and that too, you know, like a little bit of all of it. It's connectivity. We're able to connect to different minds, and like it's a tool. It's just like any tool.
That's a dope name for like a brand, connectivity.
Yeah, there you go. I wonder if that's been done. I've heard that before. Sounds familiar.
It
Maybe
does
not.
sound familiar, like some 90s wheel company or something.
Yeah.
The 90s were my favorite shit. I love that era for skateboarding.
Yeah, the social media stuff is just like, there's so many of them. My idea would be, if you're going to start out, like focus on one or two that you can manage and that don't feel like too much work and isn't unhealthy for you. So like for me, I like to use, like, when I started, I was doing Facebook and then Instagram, you know, and those two, I just like learned how to use those to like my advantage.
Those are the only two that I really mess with.
Yeah. But I've experiments with all of them. Like I have a LinkedIn too that I'm pretty stoked on. It's just like I look at that like all my, like a resume, kind of like all my experience and stuff that I just like am proud of, and like I can post it up there to share.
That's that's like a site that you could use, or an app that you can use to like search out work. Is that what?
Yeah,
LinkedIn?
it's like for professionals.
Like a professional?
Yeah, it's like resumes for a professional. It's like your work experience. You put your history, your education, and it's like you're supposed to be able to find jobs or network or connect with individuals that are interested in something related to business. You know, it's like got a little bit of like business prestige to it, but it's like social media too.
I feel like a caveman right now asking you about that. I'm surprised I don't know anything about it yet.
Dude, when all these came out, I just like jumped on them all because I was like, love the idea of like trying to figure them out. But after a while, you're like, there's just too many, and like some are hurting me, some are time wasted, some are like productive, and like some I just don't enjoy. Like Twitter's one that I still keep it. I've thought about deleting it, but I'm like I know it's powerful, and I know I could find a way to use it where I would enjoy it. You know, I just haven't done that. I haven't been able to do it, and it's just like there's just sometimes too much. But you never know. You might go back or whatever.
Seems like a good way to promote all your products whenever you drop a new line of stuff, or you get stuff that was out of stock maybe, and you restock just to let your clientele know what's up.
Yeah, maybe. But I think because when I first started using all social media things, that's what it was. It was just to promote the things I was stoked on, and like the things that I was working on, and like try to keep it less opinion based, you know, and stuff like that. But Twitter to me just seems like you've got to have something. You just got to have something you want to talk about. A lot of it comes out as grievances online in Twitter, but like, and some people are just overly positive. It's just like your internal thinking, and you got like, I just haven't found a way to use it where I'm like, because sometimes I'll write a tweet and I'll be like, I didn't really mean that. Like I'm super like impulsive and write shit, and like, so I don't know. I just like haven't found a way, man.
It's hard to express tone through just writing things out. Like a text message, you can never really pick up on the tone of maybe what you're trying to evoke to, and maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's weird because
I feel like tone's a lot behind conversation when you're trying to express a thought.
Yeah, definitely. That gives it context so that you can understand, like, because there might just be that little like tone that explains the whole thing to you. Mm-hmm. But like Twitter, like, I don't know, I'm not missing it. But maybe when I'm older, when I feel like, because like right now my thoughts are too jumpy, and I know the things I believe in wholeheartedly, but there's things I still am open-minded about, and I always will be. But like, I just haven't found a way to like use it to my advantage where I'm going to enjoy it. Because everything you do online is your time, you know? It's like, it's work. You know, people like to think like to make money online is fucking work. So if someone figure out a way to monetize their passion and their dream and then do it through online, like they're working. It's not easy. Like it's very seldom. You know, it's like if Nyjah wins, when Nyjah's the one dude who gets the big Nike check, and the like he becomes Nyjah, and before that it was like Sheckler. It's like they hit the right moment. That's like one person online did that. They just happened to get popular and were good enough. You know, the rest of the people are just trying to figure out a way to do it. You know what I mean? And make it work. And it's like dog eat dog. You know, there are outliers, is what I'm saying. But for the most part, if you figure out a way to like monetize something you love and do it through online, you're hustling. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
hard to have a new original thought. Like a lot of stuff has already been done, and it's almost like ideas are just out there bouncing around, but they've already been had, and maybe you just have to figure out how to come at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
And nobody else has seen it.
Just aim at things that you give a shit about. So like, because it's your time. Like, so like if I'm gonna do all the work of uploading videos and stuff, it's gonna be of skating or talking about skating or like or family or friends. Like the whole idea with All I Need is like to keep me focused on the things I need so I can build a foundation off of it. And the things I need are like my friends and my family and skateboarding. Those are the things, you know. So like if I'm gonna work at things, I want to work towards those things. And if I'm gonna, because I'll work full-time jobs and still like do online stuff and like, but if I'm gonna do online stuff, it's work that I'm choosing to do. So I'm gonna aim at those things. You know what I mean? Because that's what, even if you can make money just hanging out with your friends or talking to skateboarders or skating, doing the actual act of it, you know, like that would be a dream come true. You're gonna have to work at it, but
like a bucket scenario. Like if you were able to just do this full time.
Yeah, so we got to
skateboard company.
We got to figure out a way to like, because with the internet, I feel like it's our way to try to monetize our lives in some aspect where you can connect and we can find ways to make a living doing something we enjoy. We have cameras and microphones and like there's communities, and some people like before it was like celebrities could have all the clout because they just live these extreme lives and they could pay to get it out there through magazines. Like you ever go to the tabloids? The tabloids are hilarious to me. I'm like, these are just propaganda like from rich people. They probably pay for those magazines.
Oh, like the shit you see in the aisle when you're paying for your stuff at the supermarket, the Inquirer.
Yeah, like Alex Baldwin slept with an alien, and he's like hanging out. I'm like, yeah, Alex Baldwin probably paid for that ad just to like be in the like people think he's a celebrity, you know? Like it's like
to keep some relevance with his name.
Yeah, exactly. Where I'm just like
for the sake of the matter.
Yeah. So I don't know. Online is just like a mirror to me, or like these phones are mirrors. It's like reflections, you know, and they're powerful tools, and we can kind of connect and see and hear each other, and like we could work together too. Like people can find ways to find niches of things they care about and build industry around them. If enough people are focused and like trying to do it, it could happen, you know, and like it's been an ongoing experiment, you know. I'm not really sure. It's like maybe it's utopian to think that everybody could do what they want, or you could monetize people's lives so that they could enjoy them and not fucking. I don't know. You know, like I don't know. I always work.
Kind of seems to break away from the system that we find ourselves in the society that we live in America. Is that you just got to use whatever job you can get as a stepping stone to get to the next skill set, and nobody else is ever really going to show you how to unlock or open the door.
Yeah,
it's up to you to figure out how much information you can gather through observance and experience, and in the end it really is just all up to you. Like we all cut our own deals, and the amount of effort that you put in is what you're going to get out, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we're definitely getting hippie here, but I like it. We're definitely like work in progress, you know, like I'm 36. I still feel like I'm 12, but I remember when I was born.
At least I'm not the only one. I just turned 34 last week, and I'm probably like maybe 14, maybe 15 at heart, maybe on a good day. Like,
but like I'm still trying to figure it out. You know, I'm just not above hard work. Like I've always like I had sponsors and everything, and they paid for my name to be built up. Like the Anthony Shetler, like people know who I am because those sponsors paid for it. But those sponsors were like my friends that skated and got jobs, you know, and it was a job for them, and they were working to the dream don't work unless we work. So like I felt super lucky because I told my story since I was real young. I always talked about my family upbringing and that I really wanted to pursue skating and that like I
Yo,
lost my
your
father.
story is inspiring to say the least, homie. For
Thank
sure.
you.
I've heard it. It's sick, dude. It's
Thank
fucking
you.
cool that you take all those adversities and turn them into the perspective you've got to give back to other people.
I
Like
appreciate
this
that.
podcast, this platform alone is a cool fucking thing, man.
Oh,
I'd like to
time
see you grow it, and hopefully this shit takes a larger role in your life as time goes on.
hell yeah. This is time well spent no matter what. I enjoy this. This is like amazing to me. But yeah, so like I just like always put my story out there and I let these people know that I wanted to pursue skateboarding on like a professional level. And then my friends I met over the years got into positions where they could do that and support me, and like it was so cool, you know? Like I was able to live my dream. And then that shit ends, like recession happens, you get older, like I'm just like it makes sense, but I just didn't want to let it go. So I just was like, well, I'll do all the work that my friends did for me for someone else, you know? And then I started a team and like then I was like, we just need to build each other up, you know, like as skateboarders, because I see the intrinsic value in skateboarding and skateboarders as a lot of us do. Like for a long time, it was considered like a childish thing, but I'm like, no, this thing helped develop all of us, and we put so much energy and our life force into it. Like it's worth more than money, you know, to a lot of us.
A lot of people just look at us as grown men that are obsessed with playing with a toy until like maybe they give us the time of the day to have a conversation and they get more perspective about what we actually absorb and retain from our experience with it.
Well, nowadays I like it because like with the internet, it seems like more people are able to show their life and how skating has helped them or created them, or like they're somehow built it into their life, and more people get it. And now we get to see that there's all different people that love skateboarding, like at all different levels. You know, it's
It's
unbelievable.
a trip to me how like even in just like regular marketing of products, how skateboarding is used as a way to sell products.
It's where the
And
heartbeat is, man. Skateboarders have a heartbeat, so it's like everybody wants that. You know, it's like skateboarders it's so complex. It is like corporate, it's core, it's like everything. Like everybody loves skateboarding. It's like the complete individual of humanity, you know, like it's proven. It's like grandpa skateboard nowadays, you know. I'll be a grandpa skating one day, you know, like
you skate dinosaur.
yeah, just skateboard makes interesting characters and pretty epic humans, man. I'm hyped that you're able to come back on the show and like do this, man. Thank you.
Heck yeah, appreciate it for sure. Get to share a piece of the journey. Means a lot. Thanks, homie.
Yeah, no worries. Before we go, just whatever social media you're gonna post your clips at, and if you put your art up, just so people could check it out and I can check it out, and I'll promote it too.
On Instagram, you could find me at Andrew Soptich. It's AndreauSoptich, and the same thing on Facebook. You just look my name up. I'm the only one you'll find with that spelling, as far as I can tell.
Nice. I'll put those links in the description, and I'll put to the YouTube channel with your 10-minute part. That's epic, dude. People definitely have to check that out.
Appreciate that. And if
And
anybody else has time to check out any of those other video projects on that channel, I'd be super appreciative. That's all of my favorite stuff that I've had the chance to get a hold of over the past 15 years.
hell yeah, time well spent, and I'm glad that you're putting it online somewhere.
Heck yeah.
The last link I'll put is poorlifechoices.com.
No, come on now. I don't want to get that one.
That one's hilarious. I'm definitely gonna look at that one. Is it?
Yeah, look at that. You'll probably get some great hour of entertainment out of that.
In all sincerity, man. Thanks for real.
Heck yeah, appreciate you, Anthony. Hope to talk to you in the future, and stack them clips and stay positive, homie.
Hell yeah. Hold tight, okay? Hold tight. I want to make sure this time.